Thank you very much, Shannon. I appreciate the introduction. We're excited to share with everyone today the benefits that we've been able to enjoy and help others enjoy with our solution. So to get started, we're going to be highlighting a little bit of a story with one of our customers, and with that particular customer, they were able to put together some ROI numbers and kind of an experience in terms of this solution that was basically monetarily documented in a way that that makes it a pretty compelling story. As far as the customers, the one that we're actually highlighting today is Progressive Roofing here, kind of in the middle, and of course, as you can see, we have a lot of different businesses within different industries that we service. We do specialize in the construction and trades and enjoy a lot of success with companies that are all over the country. One of the other things that we are thankful for and that we feel like we get excited about is when we get recognition from the industry experts. As you can see, we've been nominated and been able to win the Most Innovative Product Award at many of the World of Concretes. We actually won another award this last year in 2017 also. For us, those accolades are nice mostly just because we feel like we're being diligent at innovating in the industry, and companies are being able to enjoy those things that we've been able to create to help them streamline and improve their businesses. Just at a high level, one of the things that really impacts our success in the market and also our ability to work with businesses like yours, just statistically speaking, there's a study that says by 2019 there will be 291 exabytes. That's a million gigs of data that's being moved through mobility and through devices like most of your people and even your kids are probably carrying today. And as you can see from statistics in 2014, we're almost 10 times the use of data movement from mobile devices. So we want to help you in your business be a part of that and enjoy the benefits of collecting that type of information and that amount of information to improve your business. There's another really interesting statistic in one of the similar studies. We talked about 10 times the data traffic. By 2020, every individual, and that includes people all over the world, even on remote islands or in a village in Thailand or wherever they might be, there will be an average of 4.3 mobile devices per human being on the planet. So very, very interesting and intriguing. I've got an iPad, I've got an iPhone, I've got a laptop, I've got an Apple Watch. So for me, I've got 4 already that I use every day. So it's really not that far-fetched to realize that our world is definitely moving that direction. So what does that mean to us at AboutTime and to your business, and how do we leverage that technology in a way that actually makes you profitable? And that's really what we're here to talk about. So first of all, this particular customer, Progressive Roofing, they do have over 1,000 employees. That is a large company. They don't make 1,000-employee companies every day, so obviously that may be your size or maybe 10 times your size or more. But just keep in mind as we go through some of the statistics and the numbers here, their size is relative to the ROI that they first off achieve and also the investment that they need to make into a software system. So they were started in 1978, so been around for a while, and they're really successful in different areas of the market, as you can see on this slide, not only roofing but emergency repair, maintenance, and design build. So they do touch all aspects of construction, including service work, and they're enjoying the benefits of AboutTime in all aspects of their business. One of the things that they really felt was most important and is similar to our name AboutTime. They really wanted to get a hold of their time cards and their time collection and payroll process, and so that was why they initially partnered with AboutTime. But one of the things that they've been able to do over the last couple of years is really get to more benefits and capabilities that AboutTime can offer, which includes not only the time piece for payroll and job costs, but safety forms and documentation, and then even asset and equipment tracking. So we're going to talk about each of those areas and what the ROI looks like for Progressive and could look also like for your business. So again, just at a high level, number one, and this is something that as business owners or managers or people within an organization, we constantly try and do every day is improve our inefficiencies. The other thing, and I was a business owning contractor for about a dozen years earlier in my career before I helped start AboutTime in 2003. So I remembered well. It was painful. I've lost most of my hair. I pulled it out because of the headaches and the challenges that I experienced as a business owner, printing out-of-cycle paychecks, dealing with estimated hours that I knew probably were not accurate. You see on the fourth bullet here, we've got lack of insight on the daily progress of their projects. Of course, data is difficult to not only retrieve, but to file and manage and organize that information is definitely a challenge. I know one of the things, in my particular business, I had an entire room full of filing cabinets that had papers in it that ultimately, for liability reasons and for tax purposes, I had to maintain. But ultimately, I didn't enjoy the benefits of any of those. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it was not a digital world yet, and what I'm seeing in the market today is over 80% of the construction businesses out there are still primarily paper-driven in their processes. So I know that the vast majority of the market is still in that same boat. They're still dealing with that paper. Then we've got in bullet number 6 there, the safety reporting. That's also something from a liability standpoint that is critical for businesses to document their liabilities and ensure that they've got proof that they're having their meetings, that they have documentation of fall protection and other things that OSHA and other organizations require from a legal standpoint. But more importantly than that, and we hear this a lot and have a lot of wonderful customers that are very focused on their safety record, and they just don't want people getting hurt, and that makes more sense than even the documentation side. We want to keep our people safe. So the fact that we have ways that can help you confirm that is happening, even from your office, is something that will give you peace of mind in your business. Of course, the last two things are difficult to track on paper. We've got weather delays and other challenges that affect our job sites and construction, and AboutTime helps not only monitor and document, but also alert you to those things that may curb your progress or slow things down for you. And the last one is actually huge, and I've got a slide that addresses this more specifically, but there's a lot of equipment and tool loss out there. Sometimes even the small hand tools are really the worst losses that we end up realizing in construction, because it's so easy to go buy another drill or a nail gun or shovels or hand tools that we end up almost using them like a consumable, and we're just continually purchasing those throughout the year, possibly unnecessarily. So we're going to talk about what tools within AboutTime Progressive and others use to help solve those bullets that we've got here. On the first slide related to an ROI, they were able to recognize a $1.47 million annual savings just by standardizing their documentation processes and the way that they collect and gather and ultimately enjoy this information by sending it and integrating it with their accounting and payroll and job cost system. Now again, 1.47 million on a 1,000 employee company. Again, just doing the math, even if you're a 100 employee company and you're saving 147,000, or you're a 10 employee company and you're saving 14,700, that is still a very relative ROI based on your business size. So the other thing that they did that kind of fall under that umbrella, number one, time collection was a big piece of some of those standardizations. Job management, who jobs were assigned to and what they had access to on their mobile devices. That's something AboutTime helps with. On the safety side, in standardizing their forms and documentation, rather than have 5 different forms that are filled out partially or maybe not at all, or maybe completely, but on a piece of paper that's on the floor of Larry's truck on a clipboard, is a cost and a liability for a business. We've been able to take the clipboards and the paper and the non-submittal of these documents completely away from customers like Progressive. And then again, equipment and tool management. Where are these assets? Who used them last? What did they use them on? Are they due for service or maintenance? Are we utilizing all of our equipment that we have in play? Are we renting things unnecessarily? These are all things that the AboutTime solution has been able to help Progressive and other businesses like yours with. The goal of all of this, and it's kind of almost the primary and simple answer, but we really want to give our customers something that can be very simple for the field while still maintaining a lot of power and capability for the office personnel when it comes to integration, reporting, etc. You kind of see on the wheel here, we've got productivity. That's, what did we complete in this duration of time as a crew? How is that job looking from total hours budgeted versus actually worked? And then, where are the tools and the equipment that are being utilized, and are they being used efficiently? Forms and documentation. Of course, integration is a key one and very important. I've got some other information on that we'll share. And of course, time and labor, which is a construction company's largest variable expense. So those are the things that we offer with the AboutTime solution, and that we've been able to help Progressive recognize and achieve with the solution. The first thing in terms of the time, we have the ability to track employees in real time. Although we have other methods and other hybrid approaches to time collection, could be after the fact for a crew or for multiple days at a time. But the highest return on your investment and the best scenario are cases where employees can actually clock in and clock out and log the time that they truly arrived or began work, and also when they left for the end of the day or for lunch. We've got multiple ways of authenticating and allowing employees to actually log in, and we'll talk about some of what those are as we go forward. Of course, we want to reduce coding errors, which includes not only cost coding, but which job site, did I type in the right number, all those things, was that a 2 or a 7? Those challenges go away with this solution because we pull the data automatically from your system of record and present it in a button format where they can just select what it is they're working on. And we have other ways to verify that that's the correct selection that we'll talk about as well. And then, of course, bullet 4, these employees that are using the AboutTime system, they can be restricted or limited to their view of just their jobs and just the cost codes or phases that they need to see. Those things can be very important on large jobs or within large organizations that have hundreds or even thousands of jobs, maybe thousands or tens of thousands of cost codes or more. Again, many pieces of equipment and assets. We want to limit the view and the capability for employees to pick the wrong thing. So AboutTime's manage that in a way that's allowed a company like Progressive with 1,000 employees, and we have companies that are many times that size that are also enjoying the benefits of those restrictions. And of course, in the end, we don't want to be your only system, but we want to be the system that collects the data to feed off to the other places that you need it for tax and payroll and job cost purposes, so you can make those business decisions that are critical for profitability. Within efficiency, of course, getting rid of paper's obvious, triggering data movement, sending reports based on certain events or when things are accrued or achieved or surpassed. Those are things we can do. On the data side of things, we can move the data where it needs to go for those that need to see it and give them that information on a daily basis. So you're not waiting for the log jam of time cards at the end of the week. where you've got people in the office that are working overtime and weekends and missing soccer games and family events on the weekend because they're dealing with time cards or time sheets or reports that were submitted late or incomplete. Of course, validating and approving that data, that's something we can do electronically on the device, which I'll at the end here of this slide deck, I'm going to go through the actual application and show you some of the benefits there. And then, of course, you're just getting better information much quicker. With simplicity, large buttons, again, having a menu-driven navigation, and then anytime, anywhere access. What that means is AboutTime's written natively on the iOS and Android platforms. Your employees can be out in the middle of the Nevada desert setting solar panels, or up in a canyon somewhere in a mine shaft, and they can enjoy 100% of access to the AboutTime system. The only time that they need a connection is when it's time to synchronize or pull in updated data from the control center back on the server. So very important for many of the customers that use this system. And whether or not you've got access to cellular or Wi-Fi throughout your day or not doesn't necessarily matter, but the fact that it doesn't matter is another powerful thing that AboutTime can offer. As far as employee time savings, what Progressive was able to do is through accurately gathering their paychecks and generating invoices based off of that data for change orders or T&M or extra work, they were able to save $153,289 annually. The other thing, the rounding hours is huge. I travel the country. I go to many events. I've been in many hundreds of construction offices throughout North America, including Canada and even internationally. And it's always the same challenge. Getting data quicker, having more accurate and verifiable information is key. And what I hear from a lot of businesses is, hey, we just round to the quarter hour or the nearest 5 minutes or half hour, whatever. And those things are fine. AboutTime can automatically help you do those things with the time that's being logged. But for Progressive, they achieved almost $500,000 of savings by eliminating rounding. And so I think no matter the size of business you're in, you could recognize similar results by documenting accurately true attendance, true labor, and true productivity. And this is just a better tool for the job. It's the DeWalt drill with 18-volt batteries, backup and charged and ready to go to work, as opposed to a Phillips screwdriver and a 50-pound box of grabber screws. Your employees are not going to enjoy that Phillips screwdriver with the technology that DeWalt and Makita and others have been able to give to us. So this is just a better tool for the job. And then the last thing, they were able to reduce overtime in great capacity. They share a few stories that are probably similar to things that you may have in your business today if you're not automated. One story is that a whole crew of new employees was clocking in at the hotel and then driving 30 minutes to the job. And then once they arrive at the job, they get to work and they, may select cost codes throughout the day. And then when it's time for lunch, they're clocking out once they arrive at the restaurant. They get done with lunch and they clock back in at the job at the restaurant and then head back to the job another 15 minutes. They get done with work at the end of the day, they continue on the clock and go all the way back to the hotel and then clock out. And this was recognized even within our real-time system, but because of the GPS functionality and the geofence alerts based on job locations, those things were immediately on day one recognized, and thousands of dollars of overtime and labor and wages and work comp and overhead and liability insurance were recognized on the first day because of that, where employees are required to log in when they're beginning work, log out when they complete work. And those methods of authentication that AboutTime has provided to Progressive and others are what allowed for those conversations to happen. And then once those things happen, what we often hear is productivity immediately goes up, labor costs are typically reduced in a substantial fashion. And in the end, the goal of every business is to complete more work done correctly in the same amount of time so that they can achieve more profitability. And that's what AboutTime was able to help them do. So again, this bullet, the third one here, is really one of the most powerful things in this entire discussion, and that is that in 3 months following implementation of this system, they recognize, comparing to the prior 3 months to putting AboutTime in place, $1.22 million of overtime savings. If you do the math, and this is just 1 quarter of savings, you do that math, extrapolate it out over the course of a year, you're talking almost $5 million in savings in just overtime wages. It's almost mind-boggling, and it makes you wonder how we can be profitable when we've got these inefficient processes. But these costs are they're just leaking out of the bottom of our business's gas tank, and it's just fuel that we never get to recognize or burn or utilize for an additional ROI. So when we talk about reducing payroll employees' time, that's the processing side of reviewing and trying to decipher, researching and making phone calls and texting people to confirm the information. Those things are immediately reduced. And I talked to one business just recently. Previous to AboutTime, they had 178 employees. They had 4 personnel in the office that were spending 78 hours per week just processing and validating and keying in time and payroll data. At the end of their AboutTime implementation, and when they got things rolled out, they were able to reduce that time to one person spending 3 hours of review and completely eliminate just under 70 hours or 75 hours of labor. And so those personnel were able to be repurposed and add additional value to the business in other processes that they were never able to get to because payroll was always robbing them of all their time. So just an immediate business benefit in many different ways on the back end once the time is actually sent to the office. There's, of course, when you're clocking in and out in real time through different methods, whether it be a fingerprint or also capturing a photo on clock-in. Employees also have a geofence or a GPS stamp that is confirmed on each punch. Cost codes and tracking, phase tracking are also logged at that time. And then being able to review and edit or approve that time is always critical. And in the end, measuring the productivity that's achieved because of that labor accurately tracked is really the end result. It's kind of the prize at the bottom of the Cracker Jack box. Below the money savings is now I know which crews are more efficient on which jobs. I know where we're making money and where we're not. And in the end, I can be a more profitable, more successful business because of it. Again, at the end of the slides, I'll go actually all the way through some of this information in the application so you can see exactly what that looks like. As I mentioned previously, when employees log in and out, a GPS stamp is actually documented. You see the job site on the red pin there is actually documented within the software. We pull this in from your accounting system, so the job and location. We've got a lot of companies that do railways or other work that there may not be an address specifically, but we have a longitude and latitude field in our software also, so you can actually update that area and monitor a geofence area based on whatever that is. If it's in the middle of a cornfield in Nebraska, that's not a problem. We can still monitor that area. And then, of course, at the bottom, and this is a big one, with our product, you don't have to pay any monthly subscription fees. There's no ongoing costs to have that GPS functionality. It's something that we just include because most businesses really almost require that in this day and age. As you can see here at the bottom, this is what our control center looks like as it relates to that geofence. So those are on a record-by-record basis where we can even have alerts and reports come up that actually show when those infractions occur. and as you can see, 2.09 miles outside of the geofence area. Very, very useful information to really trust but verify. I often hear, companies ask, well, can the employees disable this? Or we actually have the ability to enforce that. So when they launch the app, it will make the GPS launch or make them allow for that in order for them to clock in and out. So that is a setting within the software that will help you manage that also. Now, it's great that they're in the right place. It's great that they're clocked in. It's great that you have their in and out punches, but really where the proof is in the pudding, once you confirm that they're not 2.09 miles outside of that project when they say they're doing trenching or roof sheeting or something else. But we want to show you what their productivity looks like on a budget basis. How many hours are being spent total on that job site, and how many have accrued per phase or cost code. And then, of course, what are the differences in hours? You can see across the top, and just in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through each of the tabs, but there's hours, and then in the shaded green, we have units, which are productivity units achieved or things put in place per cost code, and then a summary is a % complete for each of those, how many units per hour. This is, as you see, right on an iPhone or an iPad or an Android tablet, also laptops. These are dashboards that the system generates for your people. So very useful, very helpful information right there on the job site without logging into a back-end system or having to hunt and peck for data. It's right there in the palm of their hand. These are corresponding reports for those productivities. This is a Keller's Church Road job in Pipersville, Pennsylvania. You've got all the budgeted time and labor, and again, this is the consolidated report of all those things collected for that given date range. So lots of valuable reports. We have nearly 50 canned reports at the system. You can slice and dice and build unique views based on crew or division, etc. So lots of enjoyment through not only the collection of this data, but how we present it and who we can share it with. The time card, our time card is going to look like this. You see on the bottom here, the overtime hours are 1 hour and 6 minutes. That is because there's an overtime rule on that job that's over 8 in a day becomes overtime on Tuesday, December 6th, as you see. So overtime rules can be configured based on your union, or if you're in California or you have California overtime rules in place. One of our largest customers has well over 4,000 employees, and they're primarily in California, but they work all over the country. They work in 100 different labor unions, and they enjoy these same benefits from AboutTime as Progressive Roofing. Again, time card per job, so we can see that data broken out on every given location. In the end, lots of savings all around. Pick an area. We can help eliminate losses and waste and extra work and reduce that down to simplified digital real-time data on a daily basis. As we go here with safety forms, as one of the other areas that Progressive has really driven their purpose with AboutTime in, there are areas where they've been able to organize those safety meetings, those toolbox talks. They've been able to review photos of people that are in a safety meeting or maybe an infraction when something's occurred. They can find that data in the database. They've got a way to document it easily in their mobile app. They've got proof and validation of warranty or any other problems or things they need to document right within the application. This next slide, as you can see, we've got the labor of tracked on an iPad here. On the left, we've got different cords and tools, the photos that are taken, and on the far right, really the form in the document that actually comes up at the end of the process. So very powerful collection tools that are digital and real time and easy to find. On tools and equipment loss, there's a study that said annually over $300 million of heavy equipment was reported as stolen, lost, missing, etc. Now, AboutTime doesn't have on-board GPS pucks to monitor physical location, but we do have assignment, use, and history of assets that we document, as well as what was produced or completed, how many hours were done completing each task, and then also what that assignment history is. So when something's missing or when you're looking for something to allocate to a different location, AboutTime can help you identify that in just a few seconds of where it was last utilized within the software. Again, these things won't be lost within the system. This is something that is right in front of management and those that need to actually see what's going on with their utility of the assets that they have in place. And then another thing, and I mentioned this previously, I hear it all the time, companies are out renting or even worse, buying equipment that they already have 2 miles away but didn't realize or recognize because of this paper-based system or a spreadsheet on someone's laptop that nobody else was aware of, and they couldn't get a call back or a text, and so it was quicker and easier to rent something or possibly just go buy another backhoe in some cases. I've heard, as extreme as that sounds, but we can help eliminate those mistakes, I would say, really, in business of over purchasing something that's not needed. Of course, back to the original wheel of the areas that we focus on, our accounting integrations are one of the most critical things that we do, and it's an area that we're very experienced at. We've got, of course, streamlining the movement of information, allowing for job costing to be accurate, getting invoices out quicker, and of course, in the end, really delivering better customer service, treating our customers respectfully by billing them in a timely manner, billing them accurately, having proof and documentation of the labor we've performed so that we can be paid fairly. And I hear it all the time, every trade show, every time I go to an event or a conference, I have customers that come up and tell me, thank you, thank you, thank you. Where we used to get an argument, we now get a check. We just get paid on stuff that we do because of this documentation. And the validity of the information we log in your system has improved and increased our business. It has improved our relationships and the trust that we have with those that we do work for and with. So that's something that, again, is surely an intended benefit, but it wasn't something that we necessarily set out to do directly with our solution, but it definitely is a byproduct that is very nice to hear about. Talked about over 100 accounting integrations that we have, not just job cost systems, but also payroll, whether it's ADP or Paychex or Ceridian or private local payroll organization or PEO. We can format our exports to fit into the formats that are required for any system that can accept that type of data. So very, very powerful, no matter what accounting or job cost system that you're using in your business. And in the end, really, like we talked originally, the critical thing, and this is something in the marketplace that is still a challenge because of some of the hybrid apps out there and the things that some companies are using. We run on familiar devices natively. This is not a hybrid application. It is built for Android if that's the device that you are using. And so Apple's bug or issue or Android's bug or issue won't affect Apple. I mean, these things are unique to each OS and each device. That becomes very important for performance. Again, no signal, no problem, and of course, easy big buttons and simple navigation. With that, I'd like to spend just a few minutes actually looking at the application. And so I'm going to bring up my iPad here on the screen. And as you see on the right, as I launch the application, this is our actual software. As I clock in, I put my 4 or 5 digit PIN code in. I'm presented with a list of buttons. Here I am, Pete Jackson. I'm here at my desk and I've got the job site location, and Forms Express is an option that I have, but I can clock in or out. When I log in, as a setting, I can require signatures to be added to approve my time. In this particular workflow, I have a signature, a GPS stamp, the job site, the location, and my photo validating my location. So if signatures aren't required on clock in or out, that's not a problem. We just turn those off and approvals can be done later. But I'm now in the app. I can pick on this project. I'm doing metal roofing, and now I can either add a note here, what we call a work note. I can speak into the microphone and do voice to text, and it will actually save my note out. Doesn't always work on the display for the devices, but it actually will do voice to text. I can add a ticket number if I want. But when I'm done and I hit accept, that GPS stamp and location is logged within the system. The other thing that can happen is when I'm done with my work at the end of the day, if I come to log out and I put my PIN number in again, I can be prompted to put in quantities in production. So on my metal roofing, I did 120 squares. I hit done, and then I can be presented with a list of feedback questions. Were you injured on the job today? No, I was not. Did you take all of your breaks? Yes, I did. I answer those, and then the system then allows me to clock out, and if required, again, sign for my approval, my time. Again, this is California overtime rules, or maybe a union job or something that has those specific requirements. AboutTime can get very specific for those types of workflows. The other thing is if it's a foreman or a crew leader or a manager, when they clock in or pin in, they can actually see a lot of other buttons or capabilities that I've given them within the software. So if I clock in as a foreman, it will actually bring up a list of my last selected employees here. If Kristen and Ben are not on my crew, I can deselect them and add Thomas and Alan at the bottom. And when I clock in, it presents me with the list of cost codes on that job site. We're doing a built-up roof system. There's the employees. I can add the same notes. I could add assets if I wanted after the fact, or just go ahead and clock the employees in. And you notice in that case, the signature prompt didn't come up. It wasn't required. However, I can come into Records Manager here and look at records for approval and select all employees, and I will then see each of the punches that I've now put on this device. The in and the out for Pete Jackson at the top, and then all of the new in punches that I just did for my crew. Now it's at this time after the fact if I want as an employee. At the bottom right, I have employee approval. The bottom left, I have manager approved. I hit the manager approve button, and now I can sign off on each of those times. This can be done at the end of the day or week or any time after the fact that I want. Up to 21 days previous is how long each of those time punches are archived automatically on the device. So from there, as I go back, I'm going to just drill into a couple of other buttons really quick. On my location manager at the top, that's your job sites. You see I can look at my task budgets, which is the productivity. I could look at location info, meaning an address. You see here I've got a permit number. I have inspector. Any pertinent information to the job site can be located here. Or I can also come in and take a photo and say, I'm going to add a photo on this project of something I'm doing. I can pick something from the camera library. I'm going to pick the camera live and take a photo of this Bird Dog HR, Bird Dog. There we go. I hit use photo, and now it allows me to add a description or image title, say Bird Dog. So if this is something on a roof or a trench or something else that I need to document, I now have a description of the photo. It's tied to a job. It was taken by me. All of that data is documented where it can be reviewed and enjoyed later. So many different areas of AboutTime to manage your project. The last thing I'll show quickly is on Location Manager. I can look at the assigned assets to a given project. If I come into the Walmart excavation job and look at any assets that were allocated there, Lots of capability after the fact, but primarily AboutTime is your mobile resource to manage your labor, your employees, your productivity, your cost codes, and really the success of your project. So with that, if there are any questions, Shannon, from the audience, I'd love to answer those. If there's anything that's come up along the way, I'll let you chime in, and we can go from there.
Sure. Okay, sounds great. The first question we have is, how is this program used with QuickBooks?
Okay, very good question. So QuickBooks has an API, it's an application provided interface, and what that means in non-technical terms, they have a link for a product like ours, and we have written and developed the link on our side, and so we have what we call a live integration with the QuickBooks database. So when new employees or equipment, they call them service items for cost codes or tasks, are added in QuickBooks, they become available automatically to AboutTime. So we collect the data in the same code format that QuickBooks has set up for your business. And when the data is synced up for time and labor and approved in AboutTime, we have what we call a closeout process to approve those records. It automatically sends that data electronically behind the scenes right into the QuickBooks timesheet as if somebody keyed it in manually. So completely take paper out of it, and that integration is very similar in each of those 100+ scenarios. A lot of other accounting systems don't have that API link. In those cases, we actually do a database link to the ODBC connection, and so we pull it in similarly and then feed it out through an export. Are there any other questions, Shannon?
Yes. In regards to forms, can we use our own forms, and can they be working documents?
Okay, so that's a great question. So the forms are they're basically rebuilt within our tool to map up the data fields that you have in your form. We're not scanning and pulling in your physical document. There are products out there that try and do things like that. Very cumbersome, can take hours to build a form and get it right, and then you're limited and restricted in the fields and the area that you have to provide feedback or put information in. So ours just expands and allows for whatever data you need to put in those fields in as you go. But however, at the end, the format comes out in a nice PDF report, and all of that data can be exported into spreadsheets also. So really you're getting our tool to build the fields that match the fields on your form. It's not physically copying the exact document. As far as working document, the form builder is in the control center. Once those are built out and formatted and organized, that is what is pushed out to the devices. So the field can't manipulate the data points or do anything to change the required information. That's all done in the office. So in that area, they can edit or update or modify a form if needed, but it has to be done in the office and then pushed out to the devices.
Okay, thanks, Mike. We have another question. In regard to field foreman reviewing the records manager, does the foreman have to clock the crew in to be able to review and approve records, or can you see the crew as they clock into the job site time clock?
Okay, very good question. So we have what we call a web clock, and that is one place where all the records from different devices can be reviewed once it's been synchronized. And so that web clock, we have an area where they can clock in and out. And then if given the privilege, we have what we call web review and approval. And in that area, they could see data from different devices. Now, on their native device in their hand, they will see anything that was logged on their device, but they wouldn't see time punches that happen, across town or somewhere else. They would need to log into the control center or the web portal to review data from a different device. They do see production units and the total hours in the budget screen from various devices, That we do allow, but as far as review, it needs to be done in the web portal.
Okay, we have one more question. How does it work for per diem?
Okay, so great question. We get this one a lot when we're doing presentations. Per diem is, AboutTime can trigger a per diem to be paid by a given employee. We have an approval area where a manager can approve per diem for certain employees on his crew or all of them. And then we've got a kind of a floodgate in the system where that floodgate is open once they've met the requirements to receive per diem, meaning they worked for a certain number of hours at a minimum. And if those requirements are met on that day and the foreman gave per diem approval in the mobile app, then that per diem trigger is flagged. And when we process payroll or send the labor information into the accounting system, AboutTime has a trigger that it can feed that per diem success into the accounting system for it to be triggered. So, we track whether they're valid and approved for it, and then we also allow for that trigger to hit the accounting system for whatever amount is deemed appropriate for that job to pay the per diem.
Perfect. We have one more question. Can the employees that are going to start a job be preloaded in the office so foremen in the field have that initial crew show up when they enter time for the first time on the job? Okay, so I'm sorry, can you repeat that just one more time? I want to make sure I understand that correctly. Yeah. Can the employees that are going to start a job be preloaded in the office so that the foremen in the field have that initial crew show up, I guess in the AboutTime app, when they enter time for the first time on the job? Yes, thank you. They can. So in the office, crews or employee subsets can be pushed out or made available to a device on demand, basically, from the office. And so they don't have to see the whole list. They could just see the list that's appropriate, and that is controlled by the office. Now, in the field foreman, if given approval, can build subsets and groups within the list he's given. So if you give him the whole list, he could build his own out in the field, but the office ultimately has control of what employees he can pull from to even start. So I think the answer is yes, and through multiple methods should be able to achieve what they're hoping for. Okay, we have a couple more questions that came in. Can we use AboutTime to pay vehicle allowances weekly? So we can document use of those, whether or not something is triggered. That could be a part of the per diem side of things if that's a part of that. If it's separate, we have a form could be built to allow for that to be submitted by somebody who had that coming. Or again, when employees log in to travel or some other cost code that requires an asset to be used, they could be presented with a list of the available vehicle to them or the vehicles, and they could select that they use that. And that event could trigger in a report that they did use that vehicle for that day, and in that case, it would just be an external process of how they manage that or what they did from there. But we can surely alert and bring it to their attention, give them the data, report on it, and even auto email that report out to who needs to see it. So multiple methods, I guess, we can alert them to the requirement for compensation on a vehicle. Perfect. What would you recommend, or what's the best device to use as a kiosk or field time clock? So we hear a lot. There are many companies that will mount. We actually have this in our office. We've got an Android tablet back next to our copier that the hourly employees in our business clock into an Android tablet, and it integrates with our accounting system and payroll. That's their time card. We eat our own dog food in that way and use AboutTime to enjoy the same thing that our customers do. So Android tablet or even a Windows of some kind.
We do hear laptops or mounting an iPad on a wall. We have all types of businesses, warehouses, shops, manufacturing facilities that use AboutTime, and in many cases they'll just mount a tablet somewhere, and that can sync through Wi-Fi if needed. We can set up auto sync times for that device to submit the data to the control center. So pretty adaptable. I mean, I've heard of like $50 tablets out there that people are using for this. So.
Okay, well, at this time we have no other questions. I want to thank everyone for their time today, and thank you, Mike, for your presentation. We will be sending out the slide deck and also a recording of this, so you can share it with anybody that wasn't able to make it. And we just had a few other questions pop in, so we'll make sure we address those with those that have asked those questions. But without any further ado, thank you for your time, and you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us.